Okay, welcome class. I'm so excited to have you in my 3rd grade class today. Today I want to start off, I want you to turn to the person next to you, your partner, and tell them, what do you think the main point of the movie Cinderella is? Has everyone seen the movie Cinderella?
My favorite.
Yes.
Okay. I want you to turn to your partner and tell them what you think the main point of Cinderella is.
What do you think? I think the thing is if we work hard all the time, then we'll eventually end up in happiness.
I think
Okay.
it's more like a dream come true.
Did you watch this one?
Yeah.
Okay, so can someone share with me what their partner said the main point was of the movie? Can someone share with me? Yeah.
Yuri said that if you're working hard, the result would be happiness.
Yes, definitely. That's a good one. So Yuri, what makes you think that about the movie? What in the movie makes you think that that's the main point?
Because Cinderella, although her stepsisters were so hard on her, she was always smiling and was nice to them. And she's pretty.
She's pretty. That's a good one.
Pretty.
She is really pretty. Okay. For our learning objectives today, can someone read the first learning objective for me?
Okay. Students will be able to identify the main idea of a passage.
Perfect. And who wants to read the second one for me? Thank you.
Students will be able to use key details from the story to support their claim.
Okay, so there's going to be 2 steps to the lesson today. First, by the end of the lesson, I want you guys to be able to take a text or a story and identify what the main message of the story is, the main point of the story. And then secondly, I want you to be able to identify parts of the story that make you think that. So the important events in the story that take place. Okay, so these are going to be the steps that we're going to use to identify the main point of these stories that we're going to be looking at today. So the first step is we're going to read the entire story. We're just going to read it to find out what happens in it, because we can't examine it without reading it. Second, we're going to use, I'm going to be able to give them to you in hard copy. So we're going to underline the main events, what we think the main events of the story are going to be. And then the third step here we're going to do is we're going to use the main points that we underline to identify the author's main point in the story. So we're going to start off with this story today. I'll read this one to you guys, and then you're going to help me identify the main parts of it. So this one's called The Monster in the Barn. And then if you guys can follow along with me up here so you can know where I am. As Bobby was getting ready for bed, he heard a loud screeching coming from the barn outside. Bobby did not know what was making such a loud noise. He had had trouble falling asleep that night. He was scared that there might be a monster in the barn. When Bobby woke up the next morning, he went to the barn to see what was causing the noise the night before. Bobby was perplexed and could not figure out what would make such a noise. That night after dinner, Bobby got a flashlight and headed out to the barn. "Where are you going?" Bobby's father asked. "I'm going to find the monster in the barn that made so much noise last night," Bobby replied. "If you are going to look for a monster, you might need some company," Bobby's dad said. And he walked with Bobby out to the barn. Bobby shined his flashlight into the dark barn but did not see anything. Bobby called out but nothing answered. He walked into the barn but still did not see a monster. "What did this monster sound like?" Bobby's dad asked. "It was a loud screeching noise," Bobby said, "and it was coming from the barn." Bobby's dad began to laugh, and he took the flashlight from Bobby, shining the flashlight up at the roof of the barn. Bobby and his dad saw a small brown owl in the rafters of the roof. "It was only a barn owl that you heard last night," Bobby's dad said. "They are nocturnal hunters, so that is why you heard him at night." Bobby was happy that it wasn't a monster, and he thanked his dad as they walked back to the house. Just then, they heard a loud screech and looked up to see the barn owl flying away into the night sky. Okay, so now that we've read this story, can anyone remember what the second step was?
Underline.
Yep, we're going to point out the main parts of the story. So, Tina, can you tell me what in the beginning of the story do you think would be a main part or a main sentence?
Bobby heard a noise from
Bobby.
the barn.
Yes, perfect. Bobby heard a noise from the barn. And then, Yuri, what can you identify as the second most important?
That he went to the barn and found the owl.
Yeah, so Bobby's dad took him to the barn and they found the owl. And then, can someone tell me what another important idea would be in the story? So they went, what happened after Bobby and his dad went to
Bobby
the barn?
was happy that it wasn't a monster.
Yep, they found out that it was an owl and not a monster that made a noise. So when we put together all these key ideas, what do we come up with as the main point of the story? What do you think the main point of this story was?
Sometimes we think of something like more scarier or bigger than what it actually is.
Yeah, sometimes some things frighten us more than they should because we don't know what they are. So, so one more time, I'm going to be able to leave this up for the rest of the lesson. But the steps to identify the main point is we read the entire story together. We went over the key events, and we were supposed to underline them. I was supposed to have a whiteboard, but that's okay. And then we used those key events to identify the main point of the story. So now we're going to do one together. Does everyone have a pencil with them?
Yes.
Or okay, and we're going to popcorn read this story together. So I'll start off, and then I'll pick someone, and then after they're done reading, they'll pick someone else. We'll just kind of finish the story like that. So I'll read the first part of it. This one's called Piano Lessons. Susie loved to hear her older sister Emma play piano. Listening to the pretty notes and watching Emma's fingers press the keys made Susie want to play music too. But every time Susie asked to play, her mother would tell her that it took hard work to learn to play the piano well. Emma made it look easy. Susie was sure she could learn to play even though she was a few years younger. So she decided to show her mother that she was ready for her responsibility. Tina, can you take over?
Susie helped her mom around the house by washing the dishes and dusting. Mom, can I take piano lessons? Susie asked. Susie, as long as you know that you have to practice every day, you can take piano lessons, her mom said. Susie was so excited. She could not wait to play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, one of her favorite songs. In no time, she thought she would play as well as Emma.
You can pick someone else, or you can keep reading.
Is anyone else read?
Can you go? Was it Susie was so excited? Wait, no.
Yep.
Susie was excited and nervous for her first piano lesson. When she finally got there, she was surprised. Her teacher had flashcards and a book for her. Susie did not know there were so many other things to learn about the piano before you could begin to play it. She had to learn each of the notes or the sounds that the piano makes. Then she had to learn which key on the piano made each note. There were even Italian words she had to learn. Her teacher showed her everything she needed to learn before the next lesson. During that first lesson, Susie never even got to touch a key on the piano. Don't people get to play piano at piano lessons? She wondered. Should I go on?
You can choose if you want to keep on or...
The next day, when Susie got home from school, her mom had her snack already. Susie ate it fast and started to run outside. Where are you going? Her mom asked. Outside to play kickball, Susie said. Bye, Mom. Not so fast. You must study your piano flashcard, her mom said. Then you can play. But Mom, everyone is playing kickball, Susie whined. Susie, this is what you wanted. You have to do your work first, her mom said sternly.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, guys. Okay, so now I want each of us to take a turn, and we're going to pick out a sentence that we think is really important to the story. So I want you guys to look over the story and underline the parts that you think are important, and then we'll each share one sentence that we're going to underline.
it could be 3?
It could be as many as you want. Whatever you think is important to the story.
Oh.
And put your pencils down when you're done so I know that you're finished. Okay, so we're gonna go over it. Yuri, can you share one of your sentences that you thought was important to the story?
The first one I picked was that Susie loved to hear her older sister Emma play piano.
Perfect, that's a perfect one. Erna, can you share one that you underlined?
I would say the third paragraph, like Susie was sure she could learn to play even though she was a few years younger, so she decided to show her mother that she was ready for the responsibility.
Yeah, definitely. So when she decided to start taking piano lessons because she loved to hear her older sister play. Perfect. Now, can you share one of your?
Susie did not, it was in paragraph number, Susie did not know there were so many other things to learn about the piano before you could begin to play it.
Yeah, definitely. So it kind of came unexpected to her that there was more to learn than she thought there was. And Tina, can you share a final one with us?
The last one, where her mom tells her, Susie, this is what you wanted. You have to do your work first.
Perfect. I definitely think that's important. So she found out there was more work to do because there was stuff that you needed to know. And she was excited to play the piano, but she had to do a lot of work. So I'm going to have you guys turn to your partner next to you and tell them what you think the point of this story was. Why did the author write this story? What does he want us to learn?
I think that we need to
Partner.
Oh, that's partners. Okay.
Sorry.
In order to
we
receive
just
a
have
certain
to,
goal, we have to work out,
Yeah,
work
so
hard
in
toward
order
that
to
particular
get some talent and some ability, you have to work hard for it. Like you have to work every day. And
Don't
you
work
have to
hard
stick
for it,
with it.
then
You can't just
at the
like
end,
say, oh, I'm done.
you need someone to support
If
you.
you keep doing it, you won't learn, you know.
Right. I think it's like
sometimes you
very
see other people doing
like,
something. And
there
then
were so
you
many
don't
other
think
things
it's
to learn about the piano before you could
without
begin to
doing
play it.
Yeah, you have to
And
remember to
I think it's more
lots
like
of work. and
really
dedication.
want to like have a talent or put your talent there, and then you started like wanting your responsibility to learn it. Like it's not like you just practice it, but then you have to learn the basic of how you understand
Stick to it.
to work the like the talent
And I
that
thought,
they use for piano.
this part was really important.
We need some
See,
Yeah.
as long as you know that you have to practice every day,
Right.
you can take piano lessons.
Right.
I thought that was really
Things is not
significant because
simple. It's not
it means
easy all the
it's
time.
her who makes the choice to learn or
Right.
not to learn.
Right.
It's her who's going to
It's
make the effort to
requirement
be
for
able
you,
to do
like,
it.
Right. And yes, I think like for if you want to
Even
be
though we
able
all
to play
wanted to
piano
go
good, then you
people,
have to be you have to like spare your time to like practice every day.
In order to become a good pianist.
Some brothers could play piano. Like, Mom, why don't you teach me? And then like she was like, yeah, okay. Play this part every single day for 10 times. I'm like, okay. The first day I was like,
Nice.
I was like, yeah, I was excited. And second day I was like, Mom, do I have to do this again? They just go on.
Okay, can someone, I'm going to have two people share with me what they said that they thought the main point of this story was. Who wants to share?
Yeah. Okay. We were sharing like, we bring the story to us as the students.
Mm-hmm.
We have talent and sometimes we have something, a goal that we need to work toward it.
Mm-hmm.
And all we have to do is work hard toward that goals because things are not easy. Things require sacrifices, especially your time.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for sharing. Can I have one other person share with me what they thought about this story?
Well, we were saying that sometimes in order to achieve something that we have to start from the basics, and that basics might be difficult to do, but it's our choice to work hard or not to.
Yeah, definitely. So sometimes the things we want most are the hardest to get, huh? Okay, so the final step, I'll collect those papers back from you so you don't have to keep them. The final step is I'm going to hand out a story to each of you, and you're going to read this one on your own. You're each going to have a different story, and you're going to complete this process on your own on this paper. So write your name on the top, and then underline the things that you thought were important, and then down in the space below the story that's kind of empty, that's where you can write what you think the main point of the story is. I'll give you guys about 5 minutes for that. About 1 more minute and we'll finish up. At the bottom, you write what you think the author's main point was, and your name on the top. You guys finished?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's look back over our learning objectives and see how we did, how you guys feel about these learning objectives. So our learning objectives were first one was to identify the main point of a story, and the second one was to use parts of the story that were important to support what you thought the main idea was. So how do you guys feel on, I want you to hold up on your fingers. 5 fingers means you understand a lot and you feel like you can do it really well, and 1 finger means you don't know very well. How do you think you guys did on these objectives? Awesome, that's perfect, thank you so much. Okay, so now that we know how to do that, I have one more question for you guys. Can I have someone tell me why they think it's important to know how to do this? To know how to find the main point of a story? In 3rd grade?
I think it helps us understand what the stories are about.
Yeah. So you can start thinking about the stories a little bit more than just what's happening. You can think about what they're about and what the author's trying to tell the reader. Yeah? Okay. So the last thing is I have these handouts for you guys. I want you to tape these to the inside of your reading journal so that every time we have reading, you can look at that and make sure that you're always thinking a little bit more about the story than just what's happening. You can be thinking about what the author's trying to tell you too. Okay, and you can go to recess.